In this video, we are going to continue to look at exponent rules. We're going to do a quick recap of what we've already looked at, as well as explore a couple of new rules. So right now, you are familiar with these three rules. You know that x to the a times x to the b, again, when we have the same base and we're multiplying them, we can add the powers, which means if I have x to the 7th times x to the 3rd, that's going to become x to the 10th. When I have x to the a, all raised to the power of b, I multiply the exponents. So this here would become x to the 20th. And then lastly, with the distributive property, we think about if we have x times y, all raised to the power of a, we can distribute that power to each thing inside. So here, if I have x cubed y squared, all raised to the power of 4, that becomes x to the 12th times y to the 8th. So let's do a quick review. Here, if I'm multiplying these two expressions, I'm going to combine my like terms in terms of my 3 and my -4. I'm going to multiply those to get -12. And then my a squared times a cubed is going to become a to the 5th because I'm adding. Similarly, this has a coefficient of 1. So when I combine my 1 and my -2, I'm going to end up with -2. My x squared and my x to the 4th, I'm going to add to get x to the 6th. And my y to the 4th, y to the 3rd is going to get me y to the 7th. So let's explore this new one. I want you to pause here, and I want you to take a guess of what you think might happen here when we do x to the 8th divided by x to the 3rd. So one way to be able to think about this, and I hope you've brainstormed an option, is to expand this out. And if we think about this, as I'm going to multiply 8 x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then put 3 on the bottom, is that we can start to cancel them out. If I get rid of 1 on the bottom, 1 on the top, another 1 on the bottom, another 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom, 1 on the top. So I'm left here with x to the 5th power. So what happens here with our rule, perhaps you've already guessed it, is that when we are dividing by the same base, we can subtract our exponent. So this would become x to the a minus b. So I'll show you a couple more examples. X to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd. Again, if we were to expand it out here, I'm going to have my 5x's with my 3x's on the bottom. I'm going to cancel, 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 and I'm left with 2x's on the top, which becomes x squared. If we think about it using our rule, 5 minus 3 equals 2. So again, this simplifies to x squared. Similarly over here, if I'm using the number 2 here, I'm going to have 4 2's on the top, 7 2's on the bottom. This gets a little trickier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because now I have more things on the bottom. So I'm going to cancel, cancel. So now I'm left with things on the bottom. So this actually becomes 1 over, remember we have to have something in our numerator, 2 cubed. We're going to explore negative exponents a little bit later on this week. But for right now, it's important for you to know that it goes on the bottom in this situation. So I want you to pause the video here, and I want you to try this first one on your own, and in a moment I'll reveal what's under the blue box, the answer. All right, so hopefully you got, let's see here. Hopefully you got x to the 4th, y to the 8th. That should be x to the 4th. Okay. Again, here I want you to pause the video, and in a moment I will reveal what's under the blue box, which is the answer. All right, so in this situation, hopefully you got a times b to the 3rd power. Okay, so here is a couple of things in this one. First of all, we can have fractions here that now involve coefficients. And I want you to treat this just like any other fraction. So in other words, how would we simplify 9 over -3? I would simply end up with -3 and a 1 on the bottom, or in other words, just -3. Then I'm going to simplify my x to the 7th and my x to the 4th. So when I divide those, I'm going to subtract 7 and 4, so I'm going to end up with x cubed. And then what's happening right here is actually another kind of bonus rule you'll see in this box. is that y to the 6 divided by y to the 6 essentially becomes y to the 0, right? Because 6 minus 6 is 0, which also is the same thing as just the number 1. We could assign a value to this, and if I'm raising that value to the 6th and dividing by itself, again, we know when we divide a number by itself, we always end up with 1. So this is going to cancel out and become 1, which means negative 3x cubed is my final answer here. All right, now this is a bit of a toughie, definitely a bit of a bonus question. So if you want to try, stop the video here and try this one on your own, you're welcome to. I'm going to walk through it right now, but pause the video if you want, and then you can fast forward and see what's under the blue box and see if you got it right. If you're interested in trying it together, let's do that. My advice to you is to always simplify your numerator, simplify your denominator, and then work vertically. In other words, work horizontally and then work vertically. So we're going to start by combining what we can on the top. So I'm going to combine my negative 2 and 7, which is going to get me to negative 14. My x squared and my x cubed is going to get me to x to the 5th. And my y cubed and my y to the 4th is going to get me y to the 7th. Now we're going to work in the bottom here. I have this cubed that's outside, so I need to distribute it to everything inside my parentheses. Again, this is a bit of a toughie question because it's combining quite a few rules. So 2 cubed is going to get me to 8. X raised to the power of 3 is going to get me x cubed. And y squared, then raised to the power of 3, gets me y to the 6th. Now we've taken care of things horizontally. Now we're going to work vertically. I want to first work by simplifying my fraction of negative 14/8. Those are both divisible by 2, so I'm going to end up with negative 7 on the top and 4 in my denominator. Then I'm going to work with x to the 5th and x to the 3rd. I can subtract those, so I end up with x squared. And lastly, y to the 7th divided by y to the 6th is going to end up with just y on the top, or y to the 1st power. This 1 can be invisible. We don't need to show it. So that there is our final answer. Now I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to let you think about this one on your own if you want. Again, it's a little bit of a preview of what's to come. But otherwise, I hope this next exponent rule made sense to you. And if you have any questions, let me know.